Oh, come on! Nobody does it all. Red Hill with a well.
Take me over this town.
And you better with that well, my friend, to hell. Ain't the Jew with metal maniacs.
All right.
Night after night, Dr. Brown and Grand White Yard, doing stream all fucking night. Doesn't know that out. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Houston, Texas, it's Vaughn Maniacs with your host, Dr. Earl Brown and the Great White.
Yeah, baby. So what's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Earl and the Great YR here tonight. This is episode 7 of Metal Maniacs. And tonight we're taking a look at all the great bands from the great state of Texas.
Yes.
And we got lots of them out there that need to be acknowledged. You know, including probably the three basic ones out there we know: Pantera, Stevie Ray Vaughan, rest in peace, and of course ZZ Top, who are still together after all these years without a lineup change. When you think about that. So.
I'm doing a stream check. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Now tonight we're also going to be looking into other groups from the state of Texas here, whether it's from Houston, Austin, or Dallas, or whichever. And I remember watching a documentary about Pantera a couple years back, and he said around the 1980s, or I guess Dallas, Texas was like one of the big hot spots for Texas-based metal. I mean, and of course Pantera being forming back in the 1980s, you know, when it was all glam, you know, it was all hair out to here and all those wild clothing back then. You know, they've been around since as I mentioned, the 1980s with their original frontman Terry Glaze. I guess he left or decided to do something else. That's when he got Phil Osamlo in, and I guess he went towards a harder, heavier direction there. And they
now
carried on.
Let's dive into what band were you talking about?
Pantera.
Yeah, let's dive into them now.
Yeah, because they're probably
right.
Yeah, because they're probably one of the prime bands from the Dallas, Texas area there, because they were one of the basically, as according to Rip Magazine said, or Revolver, they plummeted every competition that came at them. They just came in there. They came in like the Galactic Empire and slaughtered everything out there. They just, manured everything. They had they were basically the kings of what they call groove metal. When you think about it, Cowboys from Hell, which we heard earlier, 5 Minutes Alone, Psycho Holiday, and Cemetery Gates. Fucking Hostile, Walk, all those songs there. I'm Broken, all those songs still today massively played on radio, hard rock radio, and it's just the legacy will not go away, and they refuse to die, sadly. But what is more sad is that we may never ever see a Pantera reunion because the two brothers who put together the group, Vinny and Daryl, are no longer with us. And I guess there's kind of issues between their bassist Rex Brown and Phil Osamlo, from what I understand.
Now, what's your personal favorite Pantera song?
Oh, mine would have to be the one you just played, Cowboys from Hell. That's the
Really?
groove, the riffs, everything, the video, everything. I remember when that record first came out in 1990. That was the main buzz of that year at all the rock clubs out there. The songs from that record was being played constantly. It was like it's like a big breath of fresh air for some people out there, and I guess that also sparked what it would call the alternative metal, which couple at the same time Rob Zombie, or excuse me, White Zombie would emerge. I guess it was
Right.
in '92. I guess a couple years after, but like I don't think Pantera was supposed to be considered alternative metal, but basically it
Well,
was pure
like
metal.
John Five too. John
John,
Five.
yeah, with John Five, yes. John Five. Well, John Five's from Michigan, believe it or not. He
Well,
grew
no,
up in.
not Texas, but like John is you mentioned White Zombie, Rob Zombie, that
Yeah. Hmm.
whole deal. I mean, John Five was in Marilyn Manson's band,
Yes.
but wasn't he in that '90s era too, or is that like
Well,
post 2000?
well, it was pretty
John Five.
honestly. I guess it was later on during in the 1990s. The first time I've heard of him was when he played with Rob Halford's Industrial Project 2 back in '98. It was just him and Halford. It was Halford and John Lowry, which is his real name. I remember this guy back in Michigan. He played in a local group called Pepperland. He decided to move to California. They just got another guitar player, called themselves Martial Law. They renamed that group afterwards. And years later, here is John Lowry from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, playing with Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, Rob Halford, and all the greats, being featured on all these magazines. So it's like, holy shit, dude,
Right.
wow. Man. And think of it, we had the star right before we knew it. Before we even knew he was going to be a star, because he was one badass guitar player.
Right. Let's dive back into the Texas.
Yes,
Got
definitely.
on that John Five sidebar.
Mhm. Yes,
Um, so my personal favorite probably would be either Walk or Cemetery Gates, of course.
yeah,
Cowboys from Hell is good too,
yeah.
amongst others. But
Fucking hostile. I remember hearing that song with Phil screaming out the words with that distorted voice effect there. Fucking
now
hostile.
there was the bassist for Pantera. He did a project. You remember that group?
I think he was a part of a project called
Oh,
Down, which featured Phil as
yes.
well. And I guess it also featured Pepper Keaton from Corrosion of Conformity. I guess they had a couple of records and a few tours together. I know Phil was also involved with a thing called Superjoint Ritual, and now
Right.
his group, Phil Osamlo and the Illegals, they're doing shows. And sadly, it was many people were hoping possibly
We need
for a
to we
Pantera
need
reunion.
we need to rewind. Well, we forgot a whole segment, Dr. Brown.
Yes, yes,
Uh, we're gonna get right into the rock and roll news.
yes, that's right.
But Dr. Brown is usually first part of the program, but we dove right in. So we need to rewind a bit. We need to reel it back a bit.
Okay, there.
Dr. Brown,
Okay.
what's the major story in the rock and roll
Well,
news today?
right now, the main thing right now is basically, as you know, Little Richard passed away, one of the rock and roll pioneers from Macon, Georgia. They're going to be making a statue that's going to be outside of his childhood home in the area that I mentioned, Macon,
Is it in
Georgia.
Macon, Georgia?
Macon, Georgia, and yeah,
Yeah,
Macon, yeah, I keep mispronouncing because it's
I think
similar,
I think it's
Macon or
people do it
Macon or
Macon or
Macon, or,
Moken. Yeah.
yeah. And according to this, it says here,
Go
this
ahead and
is
read the whole thing. Just
all
go ahead
right.
and read
Gotcha.
the whole.
All right, gotcha. The musician whose real name was Richard Wayne Penniman passed away earlier this month at age 67 following a sad and private battle with bone cancer. The statue is said to be funded by Friends of the Little Richard House and the Community Foundation of Central Georgia, and a replica of the singer star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, according to USA Today. The fund will also be used to support, quote unquote, organizations that provide music education to low and moderate income students across Bibb County and Middle Georgia. Organizers of the tribute are also hoping to have the statue installed by December 5th of this year. Now, the late musician's birthday, Antonio Williams, a friend of the Little Richard House board member, stated that, quote unquote, Little Richard's contribution to music as a whole, to all genres of music, was monumental and very instrumental in a lot of people's careers. Now, following his death, Bob Dylan made this statement, saying, quote unquote, I just heard the news about Little Richard and I am so grieved. He was my shining star and guiding light back. And following his death, excuse me, oh, here's another one. He was my shining star and guiding light back when I was only a little boy. He was the original spirit that moved me to do everything that I would do. I played some shows with him in Europe in the early 90s. I got to hang out with him in his dressing room a lot. He was very generous, kind, and humble, and still dynamite as a performer and a musician. And you could still learn plenty from him. He concluded by saying, in his presence, he will always be the same Little Richard that I first heard and was awed by growing up, and I'll always be that same little boy. Of course, he'll live forever. It's like a big part of your life is gone. That quote from Bob Dylan.
So those early people in the 60s,
Yeah.
that was their inspiration.
Yes.
You know?
If it's, I know we said a couple of times before that he was definitely one of the first pioneering glam rock performers out there. I mean, with the hair he had, the way he went, wow, that only Paul McCartney was able to duplicate. Ooh, I can't even do it myself because my voice is that fucked. But yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, you did a lot better at the job that I did. But sadly, but you got to give him credit. He was able to He had a lot of demons. He had to battle, which he succeeded by found coexisting with God. He found religion, and sadly, I did some checked out some clips of him giving sermons at various churches there, and he didn't have that hair. It was basically a wig. He was basically bald. His hair was all gray on the sides there. He was wearing, I guess, prescription sunglasses, and he was in a wheelchair. So it was
Oh
like,
yeah, I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that. I was like, holy cow, damn, what the fuck happened? But then again, as we all remember, he was battling bone cancer, you know, which is sad, you know. So, needless to say, the big evil C took another legend from us, sadly.
Right.
Yeah. So, once again, there's going to be a little statue made in Little Richard's honor, and Macon, what's in the pronounce that city?
Macon.
Macon, Georgia. I keep pronouncing it because looks so much similar to the word bacon. So I think it's Macon in Georgia originally.
Macon.
Macon, okay. All right, thank you for clarifying that up there. All right, so on to our subject of Texas-based bands out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Dive back in.
Yeah, I looked up some bands that are in for this particular segment there, and man, there was a lot of them out there I didn't really know was from Texas. For instance, a band you may remember this group called the Galactic Cowboys. They have existed from 1989 to 2013. Bands like groups called Sons of Texas, Dead Horse, a lot of bands out there. And there was a group called GZR, which I'm thinking I had to look further down because if I understand, there was a GZR that featured Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, if I
Really?
understand. Yeah. I guess the GZR now exists without Geezer Butler, I guess, what I understand. It may be, let me look him up here, see what
Yeah,
we
go ahead
got
and
here.
look that up.
Okay, it says here
I'm familiar
GZR.
with that band.
Yes, it was a American heavy metal band led by Black Sabbath bassist and lyricist Geezer Butler. The band has actually been marketed with three different names on three different releases. In '95, the band was just marketed as G slash Z slash R. In 1997, it was merely just called Geezer, called Black Science. I remember seeing them play at the shelter back in Detroit, and I guess in later '97, and in 2005 it was back to just GZR without the slashes and in capital letters. Most fans refer to the band as simply Geezer, although Butler himself refers to the band name as GZER or something like that. Look that up, pronounce that well. This incarnation of the band is not to be confused with Geezer's previous attempt in 1985 to form a solo band, then known as the Geezer Butler Band. Those two bands are completely unrelated. And of course, the band's name is a word from, of course, Geezer's name, of course. You know. Now, the
Yeah.
guitarist Pedro House, the guitarist in the project, is the nephew of Geezer himself. Now, I'm not too sure. I think they're still in Texas, so I understand, because I think Geezer still lives in England, and it was origin, of course, in Houston, Texas. And I guess I don't know if they're still existing or whichever, but
So he's not no longer in the group.
I don't
He's no
think.
longer in
Well,
the group.
I'm looking on the band history right now. Um, this right here, I'm looking for here. Let's say here, after a handful of gigs in '97, the band was supposed to be put on ice as Geezer was busy with various things like Black Sabbath reunion and tours throughout how many years after that. Eventually got back in the studio with the same lineup that played those live gigs from 8 years previous and recorded a third album called Work, which came out in 2005. And that's pretty much about it. It doesn't state if they're, I guess it states that the group is still together, but with just without Geezer, if I'm correct. If anybody knows anymore, feel free to call the program, whether it's Simo or Dave Rose or whoever. But that's what I understand. And I understand also another Texas based group is the Manny Charlatan Band. Now, Manny Charlatan, as you know, is the guitarist for the band Nazareth, a Scottish heavy metal group. And we all know
Yeah.
their songs, Rasman and Az, Hair of the Dog, the most obviously, Miss Misery, Whiskey Drinking Woman, Love Hurts, all those songs, Too Close for Rock and Roll, albums like Rampant, I think it's how it's pronounced. Oh, of course, one album called Mouse and Wonderland, which was big back in 1980 when I was about 14 years old. Big Boy, Heart's Gone Cold, those songs were played on the radio a lot of times. I guess he left Matt Nazareth in 1990. I don't know if he relocated to Texas, but I know that the band he put together was started in I guess either Houston, Texas, just as well, or Austin. I got to look that up again. But
Yeah. Look that up.
okay, we'll
You
do
double
that.
check that real quick.
Okay, Manny Charlatan Band. Here we go. All right, I got the list up here. There's a lot out here. There we go. It featured yep, it just says Texas, United States. It doesn't say doesn't say which city they're from. But it was, as I mentioned, it was included singer Robert Lorenzo on lead vocals, Tim Bogert. I'm having trouble pronouncing last names.
Bogart.
Bogert, no, it's a Bogert.
Oh, Bogart.
Bogart, yes. Vanilla Fudge, the band that Carmine Appice played in the years before, and drummer Walfredo Reyes Jr. They scheduled the album and tour in the summer of 2012. Their album is entitled Hellalicious. It was produced by Gary Brian McGrath. It's on GB Records, and includes the guests such as Vivian Campbell of Def Leppard and former Guns N' Roses drummer Steven Adler. Now, basically, I don't know if it says if he moved to Texas, Manny Charlatan I'm speaking of, but he probably doing the same thing that Geezer Butler just resides in this
Which which
native Scotland.
Guns N' Roses is the most overrated band, by the way.
Yeah, way overdone. The obvious that everybody will go for when it comes to style, and of course one of the most copied bands around that time that everybody tried to look like and act like and fuse like its same kind of recklessness attitude, which we've seen and heard all before. No big crapple deal, whichever. So, and there's not much here, but Manny Charlatan, I don't know if he moved to Texas or whichever, but it would be nice to have a legend in the Texas area like we have three that I mentioned earlier. Ted
Right.
Nugent, apparently he moved to Austin, Texas from his home state of Michigan. And Al Jorgensen, he moved to Austin I guess in 1991. Jorgensen being the head honcho behind the band Ministry. I think he still lives there. And of course,
Pardon me. Hold on.
go ahead.
We do have Devious Dave Rose who joined the program
All
here.
right, come on down, come on in, Dave. Glad to see you with us.
How you
What's up,
doing?
guys? Not
Hey.
too bad. Just finished my meeting a few minutes ago, and
right.
Wire was haranguing me about certain aspects, so here I am.
All right. All right, so what do you think about the subject we're talking about? Bands out of Texas that deserve a lot
Well,
of
that's the thing,
recognition.
though. I haven't. I literally just tuned in, so
Ah.
like I have no idea what you guys are talking about. That is my excuse.
All right.
But there have been a lot of good bands that have come out of Texas. That's for sure.
Yeah, we just
Especially
mentioned-
the Southern rock, and I love Southern rock personally.
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned Pantera a while ago, and we were going to get into Stevie Ray Vaughan and ZZ Top, who are still together after all these years without a lineup change, believe it or not.
Very true. But before you do that, I just want to address why I called in, because this
Yeah.
is why I wanted me to call in, is that I raised this point previously, and it was logical and valid, and YR, again, realizing that he's not the genius that I am, took offense and wanted me to call in. But the fact is, despite the fact that you, Earl, are literally like the encyclopedia of fucking music,
Yep.
Metal Maniacs is a very limited name. And if you, Music Maniacs sounds maybe a little gay if you want to go the YR route. But like Earl, you can talk. If I was to say a name
Yeah.
or a genre, you'd be able to talk about it. It doesn't matter if it's metal or not. You have that skill.
Yeah.
So
Like what, for example? Like
okay, progressive. That's
Yes.
not metal. Boom. This guy's going to start talking about Kraftwerk. He's going to talk about Rush. He's going to talk about Pink Floyd.
King
like-
Crimson, yes.
Yeah,
the early
this
Genesis.
guy knows so much. So it's not like just metal, which is enjoyable, but like this guy knows about, like if you were to talk to him about, say, 1920s jazz, I'm sure that he can connect. Okay, well, you have people from today that took influence from these groups of the 20s of jazz and utilized it in all these different sorts of genres and made their music their own. Like Earl is the fucking king of this shit. So you asked me to call in YR. I'm just telling you that Metal Maniacs is very limited name-wise. That if you guys call yourself the Music Masters, for example, Masters of the Music, just like Masters of the Universe, then it would definitely fit your skills. Because again, it's not just Dr. Earl that knows so much about music. Surprisingly enough, even the fucking Trollmaster himself, YR, knows a substantial amount of music.
Sure.
And
I'm
he's
the
been to a
brains
lot of
behind this
concerts.
program,
Yeah.
I created
I'm not
this
going to
show
take that
along
away
with
from you,
Dr. Brown.
YR, man. You've been to a lot of concerts, man. So, like,
I thought ZZ
you
Top.
know your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, man. when it comes to intellectually and properly defining your show name, you got to listen to Dave Rose, man. Come on.
Yeah, but like the reason for the Metal Maniacs name and the metal aspect is that's me and Dr. Brown's roots in a way.
Yeah, and
Our
then
top,
then
our
then
top
then
favorite
don't even
groups.
talk progressive rock, because the fact is, if you're gonna talk if it's gonna be called metal, then talk metal. But if it's gonna be talk music, it's called music, then talk music.
But then again, you also look at the issue here. Look at the thing here. A lot of times, a lot of progressive rock can have an influence on heavy metal, like
And vice
Exactly.
versa.
yes,
And vice versa. Yep.
yes. Like for instance, I
Absolutely.
was going to mention this. So one time we were on this subject a couple episodes back. King Crimson's 21st Century Schizoid Man, the middle section where Robert Fripp and Ian McDonald are playing those fast chords, that can help contribute to some of the fast riffs that deathcore or hardcore metal bands can play on
Yeah,
their
but you can
instruments.
talk about rockabilly. You can talk about fucking blues. Like, you have that skill to know why we are here today. You know, you have that knowledge as to, okay, well, this is where it started with the music. This is where the influences came from. And that's how we progressed to this point today. And you could literally do a fucking documentary explaining that because you have that knowledge. So it's not, again, it's like, rock and roll isn't even the precursor to music today. You know, it goes probably back even before jazz. But like, again, I'm an amateur when it comes to this shit. I want to listen to you,
Ah,
Earl,
Yeah, but you still
because
know,
I know
you're
that
probably
you know
top.
this stuff.
You're top 5 in the community, Rose, on the music shit too.
Even
So,
you, YR, like, I'll give you credit, man. You know fucking a lot of fucking music. You know a lot about bands. You've been to a lot of concerts. So like you have the authority to speak about things that people don't, you know? And I'll be the first one to admit, you know, I've been to my share of concerts, but it sounds to me like YR literally, you know, has like a season ticket to like, you know, all these different fucking bands and shit. You know, the Eagles, fucking, what's his name?
well, that's the
Fucking
new. That's when if concerts come back, right? Because I'm not gonna pay for like I'm not gonna pay for no fucking concerts with glass in front of me wearing masks and shit. Like
No.
I'm not gonna.
No, that's not how you do concerts. But
no, and we're certainly not going to have to go to a drive-in theater to see some band play it
Yeah.
out of their basement or something like that while we listen in our cars. No, fuck that. That's boring. Rock and roll should be experienced live up front and in your face with a massive amount of good people there. Plain and simple. Yeah. So I'm
Let's go
hoping
ahead and
that
dive into Stevie Ray Vaughan. Dave Rose, you familiar with SRV?
yes, and
We all
not
are.
as much obviously as you guys are, but I've always enjoyed his music. And again, it's just like it was out of the blue when YR sent me the link to the song today, and it's just like, damn, I haven't heard Stevie Ray Vaughan in a while. And like, this is a classic song, and the guy was just so fucking talented.
he was.
That was a good song, right, Rose?
Absolutely, it
Fine.
was. No, but here's the thing: can you say any of his songs sucked?
No.
Exactly.
His
So it's just
his
like, you
guitar
just say Stevie
and
Ray
then
Vaughan
neither
and
did
you
it.
just
And
say,
anybody
yeah.
and if anybody says his guitar playing sucked, needs a bullet in the head because the man was a master. The man knew how
Hold
to
on.
channel the
Anybody
blues.
that says that is probably like 10 times dumber than Tommy NC 2010,
or
because
Bullfrog.
nobody could ever, even Tommy would recognize this guy's got talent. Nobody of right mind would say, oh, the guitar playing is garbage.
Yeah.
Nobody could.
Only had to
He's
co-
he's definitely in the group of the best guitarists in the world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
Absolutely.
agreed. Yes.
And I would love to hear you guys eventually do a show specifically on the best guitarists on the world,
Yeah.
not based on popularity. And this is important, okay? Because again, Jimi Hendrix, yeah, he's popular. But truly, is he the most skilled and talented? Well, then you can compare it to Satriani, for example.
Or DeJano Reinhardt, who was
Yeah.
able to
We're
play.
gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna for episode 8. Let's do it. You want to do a top 20
Yes,
greatest guitarists?
yes,
So-
absolutely.
So again, that's something to consider, because that, like, to me, I like to consider that not popularity, but skill. And I would actually recommend that Mike Oldfield at least be nominated to be reviewed, because And you know what? You know what I would love to do, Earl? I
Yes.
would love for me and you, just me and you, to
Yes.
do a review on the album called Omadon
Almadon.
by
Michael.
Michael Oldfield.
Yes, I got to definitely look that up
I have
there.
the
Since
LP and I have the CD. That to me, that really struck me as a kid, and like, it's just fucking. I would love to talk about that album. Would love just to like do one podcast. You guys should get it Patreon, but like
What
one podcast on fucking that album.
yeah,
Hey
definitely. I
Rose
got
and
to look
Dr.
that
Brown,
up.
what would be more appropriate, a top 10 or a top 20 for the episode, for full
You
episode
know what?
next week?
Because you know what? You got to be fair though. I think a top 20 would be better. A, because it would make the episode longer. But then again, you got to consider how long are you guys going to go. But like the thing is
Well,
though, it's like,
fucking join us, Rose. Come up with a list at least. Come up with a
well, I
list.
can help you, but it's you guys that run the show. I'm not fucking, coming in here to fucking
I
run shit.
know, but
It's you
just
guys
come
that
up with a
have the
list, though.
knowledge. No, hey, but that's the thing though. Why don't you guys right now suggest that your viewers in the chat below, once the video's done, put the suggestions as to what bands should be, or what guitarists specifically, sorry, should be considered for the top 20.
Yes. There's a
Because
few.
again,
You
there's
gotta
so
make
many,
a
like
list this week too, Rose.
YR, think about this. It's a little selfish to think, okay, well, we can define the best guitarist as the top 10 because there's people that still don't like that currently don't live, right? But
Right.
still have put so much influence, right? So a top 20, although might be long, and again, that's great for you guys. You get a 1 hour show, for example, but you can review 20 different guitarists and try to rate them based on not their influence, not their popularity, but on their contribution, their skill, and more importantly, their willingness. And I think Dr. Earl can agree with this. Their
Yeah.
willingness to experiment, their
Oh yeah,
willingness
there's one who
to go
does
for a
that
sound that they
consistently.
don't know about.
Yeah, so I mean, you really got to bring this guy up who consistently does that. He's always forging ahead with new ideas and such. Robert Fripp from King Crimson. He's put out soundscape albums. He has plays with a guitar synthesizer. He comes up with a lot of crazy shit. In fact,
Nice.
years back, he came up with a thing called Frippertronics. Now we got to dive into that definitely. And he was one of the guys who got me into playing the guitar again after I quit for a couple of years when I was a kid. So yeah, definitely. I second that notion. Why we should definitely come up with our next episode. Top to 20
Yeah.
guitarists.
The 20 greatest guitarists to ever live.
Yes.
There you got your title.
All
Also,
right,
change
there
change your show name to Music Maniacs.
Alright, well,
I know
well,
Wire's
why-
jelly. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. He's mad. He's mad. Aren't you, Wire? You don't like it.
Pissed. Ripping pissed.
You're ripping
Pissed.
pissed. Now go open a bag of chips.
Shout out to Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah. Rest in peace, brother. You helped a lot. You came up with a lot of great licks there. Your
His
version-
brother's
your-
still alive.
Yeah, Jimmy Vaughn from the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Yeah, I guess he's doing some shows on his own. And I guess if you recall, shortly before Stevie's death, him and his brother Jimmy they did an album together that got released about a few months after Stevie Ray's death. I know that's because it was too soon to release that record, but who knows? I'm not a record company executive,
Right.
Well,
And-
they're a bunch of whores nonetheless. They're willing to fucking, make profit off somebody's death.
Oh, they will. They will. I mean, for instance, here's another story I should bring up that's not related, but it shows you how greedy and mischievous the record company is. You remember the album "Speak of the Devil" by by Ozzy Osbourne, the live album from 1982. It was all recorded at the Ritz in New York City, all Black Sabbath material. That basically was done out of a need because at that time they recorded a show with Randy in some arena in Toronto back in around 81, early 82. But sadly, they were going to release that live album as soon as after Randy had died in that plane wreck. Ozzy said, no, I'm not going to cash in on a dear friend's death, and they had the tapes put away. So finally, few years later after that, they found the tapes accidentally, and Ozzy realized, oh shit, I forgot we actually made these, recorded this, so they put out the album Tribute back in 1987. But that originally was supposed to have been Speak of the Devil, but as we all know, record company, you're right, they like to cash in on everything they can. God knows how many Pantera ripoffs they came up with when the Pantera came out thrusting like they did.
What about the bands that should have been? I'm sure Rose has a couple picks. Should have made it. They never made it.
Yeah, we was going to discuss that, but we also.
Oh man, that's something that you two should fucking do, because I know that you two could do fucking such a great job about that particular topic, because there's so many great so many great bands that were so skilled, and even with not just a one hit wonder, but like really good tracks, they never were able to get the traction. And to be honest, you see that a lot with Canadian bands. Like the Tragically Hip here in Canada, they are literally fucking like they're worshipped here in Canada. But in America,
I heard, yes.
They didn't they caught on, but it wasn't really as much as you would think that, a certain band would. But the thing is, though, it's night and day here in Canada. These guys are considered like poet laureates, and like they literally are worshipped and stuff. So it's just very interesting that the differences between bands here in Canada and how they're perceived in the States. And again, some of them might not even have success in Canada, but they go to the States and they fucking blow up. I mean, like the Guess Who, for example.
Yeah. Yes, they're still playing.
Yeah, I would love to hear both of you guys talk about that shit, man. I'm a nobody here, okay? I'm an absolute fucking nobody that doesn't know shit compared to the two of you. So I would love to sit back and listen, to your knowledge. That's what I'm all about, man. Learn.
Dr. Brown, what other bands?
Well, there are other.
Did you have on your list?
Well, we have, of course. I was going to mention here. I mentioned Galactic Cowboys. They released, I guess it was a couple of albums in the early '90s. There was Dangerous Toys. You remember that band? They had a song called Teasin' and Pleasin' around the, I guess it was later part of the '80s. Of course, Damage Plan featuring the Abbott brothers, Vincent and Daryl. And of course, Texas Hippie Coalition.
It just blows my mind. You know so much about this shit, man.
Yeah.
People say the same about me about politics, but like when I'm confronted with somebody who knows about music, I'm just like blown away, because it's like you just keep spitting out these facts and I'm just totally clueless on, and I'm just loving it.
All right, cool. Oh yeah, we got to mention the band Rigor Mortis. Their lead guitarist who later joined Ministry years on later, and sadly he's I forgot his name, but he's no longer on this planet. He was robbed from some sort of a cancer, from what I understand. Oh yeah, we cannot forget Helstar. Remember, I on my Twitter page I had got a photograph with the guy, James Rivera, the front man. He was doing a show with a project called James Rivera's Metal Asylum. That was a tribute to the Scorpions at the Concert Pub on 1960 Road. I'm sure you've been there, YR, a couple times in the past. Yeah, got a picture taken with him on my Facebook and Twitter as well. So I got a lot of heroes I haven't really heard of, but The Sword, I've heard of them a couple years back. I guess they're still together. Bands like Phantom X, Piston Razors, Power Trip, Reverent. I heard of those guys.
Question for you, Earl.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the band called The Illuminati?
No, I haven't. Are they from Texas or
no? Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Toronto. But
okay.
What they used to be called, and I knew them when they were in this iteration. I met the lead singer. I tried to help promote them, like getting their name out for shows and shit. But they were called Chort, Chort.
Ah.
And they were sort of like a combination of heavy metal, like I would say sort of Black Sabbath 1960s heavy metal, and well, they went through several iterations. So their first iteration was like that and like sort of classic rock 70s style. And then it moved more into like industrial but like heavy metal. And then they sort of like some of the people left and they became the Illuminati.
Ah.
And they always used very interesting symbols. Like in their first iteration, Chort, it was sort of like a pro-Soviet symbolism that they used, and then in their next one, it was more. Well, it was more like freedom and sort of thing, and then the Illuminati obviously was just like the all-seeing eye and all that sort of thing and stuff. But
Yes.
they always used very interesting symbology with their albums, with their music and stuff. And it's one of these bands I think that, like you said, it never got the recognition that they deserved. Although, again, with the Illuminati, they got bigger than they were when they were known as Chort. But even still, they never really broke out big. But they had fucking amazing music, and you can still find this on the internet.
Ah, definitely. Probably, is it on YouTube as well or on Spotify?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Ah, nice. Definitely got to look it out there. Check them out. Definitely. Thank you for coming up with that suggestion, man. All right, so any other bands you want to bring in from the text? Oh, you got to give a nod off to ZZ Top. As I mentioned, they're still together.
Yeah.
They're still playing. And like I said, without a single lineup change. Frank Beard, Billy Gibbons. Oh, yeah. And, of course, Dusty Hill on the bass.
Right.
They're still
Rose,
together.
can you go ahead and ban alternate reality in your chat? He's being inappropriate, please.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. So next week, Dave Rose, if you obviously we were invited, but just come up with a 20 in general.
Okay.
Worst case.
No,
Yeah,
but that's the thing,
definitely,
though.
yeah.
No. Okay. I'm willing to submit information, but you got to be honest, though. You got to be opening this up to your viewers and listeners right now. You got to be suggesting to them that in the chat below, in the comments below, once this video is done, to put their suggestions for the top 20, so that you guys will have an easier job to determine, okay, who are we? Like, we got all these votes for these bands. Let's put them in this order and vote for them, as we see fit. So it shouldn't just be based on me, because again, like I said, I'm a nobody. I don't know shit, but you guys have a lot of viewers, and they might have an interest as to reviewing a certain band or group in a certain iteration. Because again, you got like Eagles, for example.
No, guitarist, remember?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but that's the thing, though. You've got different guitars. Okay, so for example, Pink Floyd. Are we
Yes.
going to choose between Roger Waters? Are we going to choose between fucking
Just as
Sid
a whole.
Barrett?
Roger Watt or
I mean-
David Gilmour.
Sorry, that's right. David Gilmour or Sid Barrett? Waters.
Well,
the fucking
that's your
bass-
personal preference, then.
bass-
I mean, I
No,
I
but
would
that's the thing, though.
say that,
But that's the thing, though. That's what you guys should be discussing. You should be saying, okay, well, who embodied the band the way that you wanted it to be. Like, again, it's like with Pink Floyd. Like, did you prefer Sid Barrett as the lead singer, or did you prefer fucking Pink Floyd with Roger Waters? Like, this is something that you guys should be presenting to the audience, because it's a great sort of question as to like what makes it enjoyable for you. And again, there's so many other bands that have had that situation where the lead singer leaves. Like, for example, Supertramp, for example.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of different bands that have done the same thing. So it's just like, you guys being the music experts should sort of decide, like, how to define what we like. So don't include me, man. Just fucking do your shit. I enjoy it. And I want to see you guys, do your thing.
All right.
So that'll be good, Dr. Brown.
Sounds
Next Tuesday
logical.
we can
Yeah, it sounds logical, definitely. Yeah, we
give
got
us a week to come up. come up with it for a week.
Yes, definitely. We got to touch up on that because there's a lot of debates going on. We got to include
But
some debates as
but
well.
Earl, we
Yeah,
me and you
yeah,
definitely have to do review on Omadon.
yes.
Okay? Absolutely. Me and you have to review that album. It's like an hour and a half or something. I don't care. We got to do it.
Okay, definitely. I will listen to it and I'll get a hold of you on here, and we could probably do it on my channel sometime. Probably on a Thursday or a Sunday or a Saturday
Whenever you
night.
want.
Okay,
Whenever you want. But that's
all
an
right.
album that I'm not asking to be paid, but that's an album that I love so much that again, knowing that you, a rock god, understands this way better than I do, you would be able to provide such a great context to a show in regards to one of my favorite albums ever.
All right,
So I look forward to that.
all right.
And hopefully, maybe at some point, me and you could review that band that I told you guys about.
Don't do the
That
Nami.
Japanese,
Yes, definitely.
the Japan. No, no, well, actually, maybe eventually then, but no, I'm talking about that Japanese power metal band. Remember, I told you
X.
Yeah, I think
X.
so. Yeah,
Exact.
X. Yes.
I would love to expose you to their music. I've got their discography, everything.
All right.
So I would love to expose you to their music and then discuss what and you too, YR, your beliefs on the music that they perform. So I look forward to it nonetheless.
All right. Sounds good. Logical. I'm all up for it. Definitely.
Japanese metal.
Yes. Yeah, but
Yeah.
not just loudness. Remember them from back in the day. There's a lot of Japanese acts out there that do need to be be acknowledged out there. I can name a few out there that my ex-girlfriend was into for a while. One of them was Moise Dix Moise. I think I pronounced it right. Phantasmagora, and a couple others.
Mm. Well, shout out. We need to give a shout out to Possum Kingdom, the great Toadies.
Yeah,
You know.
they're from Texas, I understand, if I'm correct, right? I guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am.
So
All right, guys,
next
I'm going to
week,
take off, but you guys have a great night.
All
Thanks for
right.
taking my call,
All
and we'll
right.
talk soon.
All right,
Bye bye.
have a good one. Yeah, have a good one. Deepest Dave Rose, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah,
Tuesday Rose. Next week, Dr. Brown. So
definitely.
work on that list. We got to work on that list this
Oh
week.
yeah, top 20 guitar players, and now, do you still want to continue with the bands from Texas there, or do we or there's a lot more
We
you want to
covered a
discuss?
lot.
Okay, definitely.
Covered a
So I guess
lot.
definitely bands. Shout out to these bands out there working hard, playing, even though they're not playing right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So
Yes.
right now they're doing live streaming from each other's house like they did with Metallica and Sammy Hagar and The Circle not too long ago. But they're still doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess Roger Waters, speaking of which, did the same thing with a couple of members of his group. They did a video of them broadcasting from various homes where his band members resided, doing the Pink Floyd song "Mother." So
It's great.
yeah, it is
So next
definitely.
week, Dr. Brown, we're gonna be ready.
Yes, we
Top
will.
20.
Top
I'm
20
gonna put
guitar
it all
players.
over Twitter. We gotta flood it all over Twitter all week long.
Yes, we're
And
gonna tell you what. I will come up. I will definitely come up. I'll put it on Twitter right after this program. Me and Y are going to come up with our top 20 guitar players, and who do you think should be within our top 20 list? Give us a rundown there,
yes.
definitely. All right, so another subject I wanted to bring up here was bands that should have made it big, but sadly didn't. And which is sad because
Did you want to save that for a whole nother episode?
we can probably do it right now. There's a couple out there that need to be
Do a
talked about.
couple,
We-
I gotta.
Okay,
I gotta.
definitely. Well, a couple of them that should have. Well, I'm going to start with one from British Columbia. Her name's Chrissy Steele. She released this album back in 1990 called Magnet to Steel. It was a pretty damn good record. I would play that a lot of times when I was back in Michigan or I was cruising in the summertime around the Sterling Heights area, Troy area a lot of times. As the same with Enough is Enough by Billy Squier, another phenomenal album that should have got more attention.
Yes.
There was a band out there also. I see many bands play, and I wish, damn, this group should have made it big. They sound awesome. There was a group I saw at the Ritz in Roseville called Jailhouse. They played there one time. They were pretty damn good. I mentioned the band thrash group Ledge Lord that one Sunday when nobody was there, and they just came out there, cranked out the shit, and impressed the hell out of me. And plus, there was this one. I got to give a nod off to this band, Stone Fury. They released 2 albums in the 1980s. Pretty solid, good rock. They featured Lenny Wolf, who later on became the singer for the group Kingdom Come. The band that what people often called Kingdom Clone because of their sounded similar to what Led Zeppelin was back in the day.
Yes.
And definitely, I have to say, there's so many bands and albums that should have made it big, but everybody should know about, and it hurts me because the kids today are really missing out on this great ass music that we grew up listening to, But there's so
we should do that for like another whole episode.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
albums and groups that one hit wonders or just not popular on the radio or stuff like that. It should be a whole other episode.
Albums that should have made it big as well, because there was a few out there I can name. All right, so you said you had to get going there. I guess if I understand
you. Going stomach. I think I ate too many Twizzlers.
Oh
you know
man,
what I'm saying?
oh shit! I lay down to take care. Drink lots of fluids, dude. See if that will help there.
Dr. Brown next week, top 20.
Top 20 guitar players and bands.
Make a list.
Make a list. I will do that on Twitter right now, sweet folks. Pay attention. Get everybody
All right, Dr.
on
Brown.
my Twitter. Okay, you have a good one.
Next week, are you ready?
Yes, I will be ready. Definitely for shizzle.
All right, brother.
All right. All right, bye-bye.
Drama-free Dr. Brown.
Drama-free Metal Maniacs and drama-free YR, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a great show without SC Steve here.
Yeah, yes, it was. Yes, it was, dude. All right. All right. Everybody take care. Once again, Metal Maniacs every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube on both my channel and the YR program channel there as well. Come check it out there.
All right, Dr. Brown. All
right, have a good one.
I'll talk to you here.
All right, have a good one. I know I got to walk the dog pretty soon.
You got to walk the dog?
Yep. Oops. Press the wrong button there. All right. See you later, guys.